Okay, so a user on Reddit asked me to explain the radar that's used in Elite Dangerous and how to understand it. So I've come out here to relatively deep space and ejected a bit of cargo to show you how stuff works. First of all, the little arrow in the centre of the radar, that's obviously you. The V shape that extends forwards out of that, that's more or less your field of view when you're looking straight forwards in the ship like this. Obviously, if you're using something like an Oculus Rift, it will depend very heavily on where you're looking, whether that will match up. But in a normal setup, that is looking straight forward, your field of view. The little white dot that you can see is the piece of cargo that I've ejected. That matches up with the not targeted but visible thing in front of me on my screen, highlighted by the little white V's in a diamond shape. If I select that as a target, it gets little angle brackets around it on the radar, so that shows you what your current target is. If I rotate to the left or the right in the same flat plane, you can see that that moves. Obviously you can see there it's gone outside that V, it's still visible in my screen, so that V is not absolutely your field of view, but it's relatively close. But you can see there that as I rotate left, that moves right, and as I rotate right, that comes back into my field of view. So the radar is showing a flat plane all around me in the direction that I am facing. The other thing that you'll see is if I pitch down, there's a line that extends upwards from that flat plane of the radar to where the object is. So a line like you can see at the moment that comes up out of the radar to an object, that's showing that the object is above you. The longer the line is, the further above you it is. If you go the other way, of course, it extends downwards. The longer the line is, the further down it is from you. Obviously, as I pitch up and I'm not moving forward, it's going to get closer and closer and closer to me, but further below me. So at this point here, it is directly below me. So that dot is exactly on me, on my point on the radar, but the line is extending a long way down. If I keep pitching, it'll go round behind me, shorter, shorter, shorter. Now it's more or less exactly behind me, and then obviously if I keep going, it's now above me, and behind me, directly above me at that point, and then it'll come back into view in front of me again. There we go. That's a white object, and it's a solid square. So solid objects are always computer-controlled objects. If you see another player, they will be a hollow object, either a hollow square or a hollow triangle. The triangle that you can see off to the right on the radar and above me, because there's that line coming upwards, that's actually the nearest starport. So if I just aim towards that, there it is, and we'll travel towards it. Got a way to go. And while we're travelling towards it, I'll just say square shapes indicate something that's not currently a threat. Now obviously that canister wasn't a threat and can't ever really be a threat. This starport is a triangle. Triangle indicates weaponry. So in the case of this starport, it's that its weapons are currently out and deployed, because starports don't really have a concept of weapons being stowed. If you see another ship on your radar, it will appear as a square if its weapons are stowed. That will change to a triangle if its weapons get deployed. That works for players as well, so players are a hollow square if their weapons are put away, and a hollow triangle if their weapons are deployed. You notice the yellow colour of the starport, that means that it is neutral towards me. So white objects basically don't have a concept of a faction. So canisters, they're white, missiles, if somebody's shooting missiles, you'll see them as white arrows, because obviously they are a threat, they're missiles, but they're not in any way controlled consciously by either an NPC or a player. So we can see there is, from the looks of things, another ship just up above and slightly to the right of this starport. There we go, it's now in my view in front of me. If I target that, you can see that it's a square, so I know it's an NPC because it's a solid square, and I know it's not got its weapons out. Something else has appeared off to my right, but that's flickering around. When something's flickering around like that, it's a radar echo. It could mean that it's something that's got very, very, very low heat, so it's hard for the radar to lock on. See, it's now become more solid, possibly because it's got slightly closer to me. It's now possible for me to lock onto it and see that it's a Cobra, once again AI controlled and with its weapons stowed. So I'm just going to head off to a combat zone so that I can show you the different colour schemes and hopefully something a bit more hectic inside the combat zone before I die. Before I do that, I'll probably also bet to mention the line that you can see as soon as I stop turning. The line that you can see along the bottom of the radar that looks to have a little yellow slider on it, that's your radar range. So at the moment I am at minimal range to be able to discern between the ships that are docking and the actual starport and such like. If I zoom out like that, obviously all of those objects appear closer on the radar because the radar now has a larger maximum range, but it's harder to discern between them because they appear almost on top of each other. You can see now that off to the right here, if I just pitch up in front of me there, this is a player because it's a hollow square. So if I target that, it's a player in a Type 6 transporter, Command Escaper, and I'll now do like I said and head off to a combat zone and see you shortly. So I've just dropped out in a high intensity combat zone around Ranin 2 or Eranin 2, however you pronounce that. You can see that there are a number of ships all around me, all with their weapons out, and they're still all showing as yellow neutral. There's unfortunately not any players here at the moment, they're all computer controlled. If I go over to the right hand menu here and pick a side, we're in the Eranin system, so let's choose them. You can now see that there are a number of targets that are green, that are targets that are on the same faction as me, and a number of targets that are red. So at the moment they're all above and behind me. That's one shooting some missiles there, which were the white arrows that you saw. So let's loop round. What I want is I want one of these guys to shoot at me, because what you should see is when a target shoots at you, they start to flash white. There we go. You can see that he's shooting me. He is now flashing white and red on the screen. I think that's about it, really. I think that's about everything that you need to know about how the radar works. I've already explained the compass that's just above and to the right of the radar in my tutorial on basic flying, and also mentioned it again in the one on docking.